Alrighty, good morning, folks. All right, we're on to the last way to have more money. Okay, and this one's definitely about making more money. But I want to take this opportunity to say that there are four ways. A purist might mention a fifth way, and I'm going to touch on that very briefly here because it's kind of related here. All right, this fourth way is called increasing your margins. There's actually two ways to increase your margins, one of which is to raise your prices, right? You can also, a lot of businesses have cost of goods. So if you reduce your cost of goods, that changes the equation too, right? So that means that maybe you go out and find new suppliers or negotiate prices or what have you. But if you have cost of goods, or cost of delivering the service, and you can bring those down, that goes in there too. Presumably, and you see, this is a little different than reducing expenses. It's kind of the same as reducing expenses, a lot like it, okay? But expenses are different from cost of goods, all right? But I'm not going to really address that topic. This is really more aimed at service, and a great deal of your margin just comes from the service aspect. So let's move on to that. That means we're talking about raising prices. Now, a lot of folks are just plain afraid to raise prices, and I'm going to address that at the end, because if you raise your prices enough, I agree with you, you will lose business. There will be people that say no, okay? My having said that up front, I hope is making you open to hear what I have to say at the end that'll give you the freedom to do it anyway, maybe. All right. Lots of guys have prices that are, quote, too low. Now, you wouldn't know what too low is. You got no idea what too low is. And it defies the definition anyway. You know, my value system and your value system might be different, so we come up with different answers on that. Regardless, if you haven't got all the money you wish you had or really ought to have, you know, if you're working hard and you're still living pretty poor, then, I mean, there are things wrong there. Either you're working your life wrong, or you're just not bringing home enough money. I know you figure that out, okay? But I'm going to talk to you about raising your prices. Raising your prices is a 100% pure way. There are no other factors involved. It doesn't matter what your expenses were, your variable expenses, none of that. This is just, you raise your price $1, and that dollar goes straight to the bottom line. So, how much? Well, I'm going to make an attempt to not bore you with math. Let me just go straight to the bottom line. Those who care to work math, you work the math yourself. You can do this. All right. And I have these little notes because I stumbled on the last bit of math, didn't I? Because I didn't give myself good notes. All right. So let's say right now you're, whatever 100% is, that's status quo. That's what you're doing right this minute. And if you raise your price 5%, okay, that means your price-wise, you're going from 100 to 105, right? Okay, that's actually, a fairly big increase in margin, and it's going from $30 at the end. You remember, our theoretical business has a 30% margin. Okay, whatever your real numbers are, you plug them in. That means you're going from $30 to $35. That is a 17% increase. Okay, so if you were making $100,000 today and you did this in this easy scenario, you'd be making $117 or $117,000 all of a sudden. You give yourself a raise like that. Okay, and it's even more. If you give yourself a raise of 10%, it's a huge increase. You go from $30 to $40 in profit on that 100. So you see where I'm going here? That's a 33% increase. And life is not this simple, okay? There are other factors that all go into this thing, but it's close enough to reality that you can go to the bank with this, more or less. What if you raise your prices 10% and more people start to say no? How much business can you afford to lose? All right. Well, if this were the only factor, you didn't do anything else besides raise your prices and everything else all stayed the same, you could afford to lose 25% of your business, actually. You would be doing 75% of the work for the same money you're making now. It's doubtful you will lose 25% of your business. And there are other factors. There are what you call it, variable cost, right? I mean, there's more going on than just the top line of the income. So you really don't have to be afraid that you're going to lose much. You really don't. If you think you can afford to go up 10%, try it out. And I'll leave you with these couple thoughts. One, the guy that taught me goal setting said this once. He says, you can always raise your prices again later if you don't like your new higher prices. And I have heard over the years so many people comment on that. They just say, I didn't have the guts to do it, and then I did it. And I never, ever, ever went back. In fact, I went for a little more. This is a common experience. I'm telling you, unless you are priced out and you're already twice as much as everybody else in the marketplace, there's always room for more. And there's probably room for more on that too. Really, you can just lower your prices later. So here's my thing. Just try it out. Try it out for a period of time. You don't have to marry it forever. But if you're not making the kind of money you want, or if you're actually kind of in trouble, then try it out. Better to have a business death on high prices than a business death on low prices. All right? Give yourself a break. Raise your prices some and see how it goes. All righty? See you next time. Hey friends, I hope this was useful to you. Would you do something for me? Would you please share this with anybody you know that ought to hear it too? And then would you please give me the thumbs up and subscribe, right? That's kind of important on these things. Feel free to leave comments. All right, thanks a lot. And now get out there and do some winning.